keep them away with you.
Yeah.
If that is the worst,
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah, we've just come through everything out the other side.
Okay.
Borg, you doing?
Are you doing hair? How you going? I'm sorry we looked this morning at the Bendooley. I had no idea. They look awesome. Thanks, Winoa. Right, yeah, great. Oh, great. Thank you, COVID. One go great. I don't know. I look like we've got a I won't. Take money. No. All right, I better just assume the position because I think my man Marco is going to come out any second.
Me?
Beth, don't do this.
She's just freaking you out. She's playing with your minds.
So that's someone. That might be a Marco.
That is him. Okay.
Marco.
Yeah. Oops, I didn't need to quite go like that. Okay. So. Is that my signal that they're coming or that I should start the music? Play music. Okay, deep breath. Play. Okay.
Now, 30 seconds time, maybe not.
It's alright. You're out of motion.
Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you. Shall I stay? Would it be a sin if I can't help falling in love with you? Like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. So take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you. For
Welcome everyone, and thank you all for being here to celebrate the marriage of Joanna and Matthew. My name is Jamie Borg and I'm an authorised marriage celebrant. If you have a seat, please be seated. It's both a pleasure and a privilege to perform this ceremony today, and it's wonderful to see all these friends and family members here to celebrate with Matthew and Joanna on this momentous occasion in their lives. I know it means a lot to both of them to be sharing this moment in their lives with all of you. I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge those who are no longer here in body. Joanna and Matt both have family members they would have loved to attend today, but they are confident that they're here in spirit, and of course they're remembered with love today and always. I'd like to share some of this love story that we have come here to celebrate today. Joanna and Matthew met way back when they started high school and were in the same homeroom. All the way through school, they travelled together. Matt always thought of Jo as this hippie chick with a rock attitude. And Jo thought of Matt as a bleach blonde metalhead. We got the same person. Jo's mum often said that Matthew James, he's such a nice boy, you should date him. Jo always thought that was crazy because Matt was just her friend. But by the time Jo and Matt reached their final year of high school, they both realised that they'd stopped liking each other as just friends and had started to like each other a whole lot more than that. A well-timed short holiday with their group of friends down the coast to Bendooley, am I right? Yes. Involving hours of bathing in the sun, a bout of heat stroke, and possible third-degree sunburns, helped Jo and Matt make the decision to pursue a romantic relationship. Not long after this, Matt got in with his future father-in-law in his good books with a Star Wars box set, which procured him an invitation to a 4-butt family dinner. Here, he seized the opportunity and officially asked Jo out. Neither Joanna nor Matt will ever forget the first time they said I love you to each other. Sitting on the couch watching a movie together, still one of their favourite pastimes. Jo spent the entire evening trying to work up the courage to say the L word, but Matt pipped her at the post and got in first. Throughout the past decade though, there have been plenty more opportunities for both of them to get used to saying how much they love each other. They have also made many great memories on their annual snow trip with Jo's family, but there is one in particular that will always stay with them. On this trip, Joanna and Matt had gone to the snow a few days earlier than the rest of the family. Unbeknownst to Jo, Matt intended to propose at the top of Threadbow. It was a great plan. Unfortunately, about 6 runs in, Jo got a concussion and was out of action for the rest of the trip. Matt's plans for a grand romantic gesture were shattered. Nevertheless, he was a man on a mission and proposed to Jo he would. On the last day of their holiday, he took Jo into the village and tried to get her to accompany him for a walk, but she was tired and she wanted to get back to the house and rejected his suggestion. Not prepared to give up, Matt then suggested they get off the bus a couple of stops early, but he was again rejected by his beloved. He suggested another spot, only to be rejected yet again. With the bus nearing home, Matt could see his window of opportunity closing by the second. They finally got off the bus and it started snowing. Jo and Matt were playing in a patch of snow, and Joanna turned around to find Matt down on one knee, finally seizing the opportunity to ask Jo to marry him. I am so glad that she said yes, because I really don't know how Matt would have coped with any more rejection that afternoon. It all paid off in the end. Over the past decade, Joanna and Matthew have created many more memories and accomplished so much to be proud of. They bought their own home and have been living together for almost a year or 2 years now. Two. With their beautiful dog, Sophie. Together, Matt and Joanna love socialising with their family and friends and eating out, but they also enjoy just being homebodies, cuddling up with each other on the couch, watching movies and games nights at home. When I asked them what they loved most about each other, their lists were long. I've tried to summarise for you all, as I'm sure you can imagine these two are really into each other. Joanna says Matthew is trustworthy, supportive, funny, handy, and always knows how to cheer her up. Matt has fallen in love with Jo's kind, dependable, compassionate nature. He loves that she can be crazy, silly, and thoughtful all at once. But neither of these two pretend that they are perfect or that they have the perfect relationship. Apparently, patience is not Jo's strongest attribute. And look at if she's not fed regularly, because Hangry Joe might make an appearance. I hope that does not happen today or tonight. Feed her regularly, people. I've also been told, I hope I'm allowed to say this, that Matt's a little bit of a smartass. Not my words. And although he's a great cook, he makes a really great mess while doing it. Well, I think that we can all agree marriage is not a celebration of two perfect individuals, but of two individuals who just happen to be perfect for each other. Matthew and Joanna are so excited to be tying the knot before all of you here today, after this crazy, amazing year that we have had in particular. They're looking forward to starting a family together and will continue to motivate and support each other in all aspects of their life. Matthew and Joanna, I wish you health, joy and happiness every step of the way as you set out on this next chapter together as husband and wife. Can we have a round of applause for this stunning couple? Before we move into the scary legal proceedings, it is my great pleasure to invite John, Joanna's brother-in-law, to present a reading. Come on up. Get hold of that. There you go.
Sooner or later, we begin to understand that love is more than verses on Valentine's and romance in the movies. We begin to know that love is here and now, real and true, the most important thing in our lives. For love is the creator of our favourite memories and the foundation of our fondest dreams. Love is a promise that is always kept, a fortune that can never be spent, a seed that can flourish in even the most unlikely of places. And this radiance that never fades, this mysterious and magical joy, is the greatest treasure of all, one known only by those who love.
Now, I know lots of people think it's when we sign the paperwork that's when this whole deal is sealed, but actually marriage is essentially a verbal contract, and the words that I'm about to say from the Marriage Act and Family Law Acts of Australia and those that Matt and Jo will say in their vows form the legal components of this ceremony, and these are the words that we're all here to witness today. So this is the very serious part where all the magic happens. No one's running anywhere. You guys look very, very certain and ready to go. Excellent. All right, so I, Jamie Lee Borg, am a civil celebrant duly authorised by law to solemnise marriages according to the law. Before you, Matthew Gregory James, and you, Joanna Robin Forbut, are joined in marriage in my presence, and in the presence of all of these witnesses here today, I am to remind you both of the solemn and binding nature of the relationship into which you are now about to enter. Marriage according to law in Australia is the union of two people to the exclusion of all others, voluntarily entered into for life. Matthew, do you choose Joanna to be your wife, and do you promise to love, honour and cherish her for as long as you both shall live?
I do.
Joanna, do you choose Matthew to be your husband, and do you promise, she's keen, do you promise to love, honour and cherish him for as long as you both shall live?
I do.
That was twice, I do. Now, could you hand your flowers over because we're going to do your vows? you guys. We're going to do the vows now, so Matt needs his first. Pocket. They're yours? Okay. So now I'm just going to hold this. You guys, do you want to hold one hand and hold all? Okay. You do what's easy.
Okay.
Go.
Joanna, our two mottos in life have been, it doesn't matter, we'll get there in the end, and we'll do it as a team. Together, we officially become the best kind of team, a husband and wife. I love you because you are fiercely competitive, a terrible loser, and an even worse winner. You are a strong-willed, yet truly kind and deeply thoughtful person. Nothing is as sweet without you. I promise to always be your personal heater, chef, handyman, masseuse, and driver at night. I promise to always show you the same support and belief that you have shown me, to always cheer you up when you are down, and to be your shoulder to cry on. I have always said that you have the biggest heart of everyone I know, which is why I'm so happy to give you mine.
I call upon all those present
I call upon all those present
to witness that I,
Matthew Gregory James,
take you, Joanna Robin Forbart, to be my lawful wedded wife. Got that right? No, Joe needs her vows. Can I hand yours back? Okay. Just take your time. Okay.
Matthew, on a night nearly 10 years ago, I was trying to gather up the courage to tell you I loved you. However, you beat me to it and told me you loved me first. At that moment, I knew I wanted to hear you say those 3 words for the rest of my life. I love you because you are the calm when I am crazy, the provider of snacks when I am hungry, and the sunshine on my darkest days. I promise to always be your sous chef in the kitchen, to help you find your car in the car park, and try not to forget things we spoke about, even if it was only yesterday. I promise always to support your many crazy ideas and dreams, to stand by your side in the happiest and hardest of times in life, and to love you more and more with every day we share together. I call upon all those present
To
witness that I,
Joanna Robin Forbart,
take you,
Matthew Gregory James,
to be my
lawful wedded husband.
Do we have the rings?
If we just give Matt Joe's ring first. She's going to take your left hand. So are you right-handed? Yep, so you hold it in there and you just hold it at the tip of her finger while you say these words, okay? Joanna, when you look at this ring, think of me, and remember that I love you always. That's it, on it goes. And either up the front or around here to give it to Joe. Yep. So you're going to do his left hand. Okay, so you just hold it there. Matthew, when you look at this ring, think of me, and remember that I love you always. Now, we're going to go over here and do your sand ceremony first before I bring you back out here to kiss. Is that okay with you guys? So, I want you to remember where you're going to be, and I'm going to put you in position. Okay? We're now going to celebrate Matt and Joanna's union with a symbolic sand ceremony. So I'm going to ask them to come over here to our signing table. We haven't forgotten their kiss. We've just got to seal it properly. So you come around the back, I think. Yeah. Because otherwise no one can see what's happening over there. And I want you to get yourself in between there so that you can actually reach. Is that okay with you? And then Matt's going to come. Okay, perfect. So, a little bit of choreography here. Joanna and Matt are both holding vases. They will hold vases in a moment, which are filled with sand and earth from very meaningful places in their relationship and lives. They have dirt from their high school where they first met, and also from both their parents' houses where they lived for most of their relationship. There is sand from Bendooley Beach, which is where that relationship began, if you remember those third-degree burns that they suffered. There is also earth from the house that they bought together. And finally, there is some earth from the spot at Threadbow where Matt proposed last September. Isn't that beautiful? Joanna and Matthew, today you are making a lasting commitment to share the rest of your lives with each other. That commitment is symbolised through the pouring of these two individual glasses of sand and earth. One that represents Joanna. Could you start to pour? And one that represents Matthew. They're like kids at the sandbox. Each of you comes to this relationship with unique strengths, vulnerabilities and histories. As individuals, you're both awesome, beautiful people on your own, but when the two of you are blended together, as Matt said, you form something even more beautiful. Those strengths can blossom, those vulnerabilities can be cared for, and those people can soar. So as that sand and earth, which has made the most beautiful layers, has been poured into that vase, the separate colours of sand and earth now blend into a new colour and a new pattern. And you have both blended your families into a new family today as you start your journey of marriage, which will be loving and strong as husband and wife, as inseparable as these grains of sand and earth in this vase. Well done, guys. Come forward. I want you front and centre for this important part. It looks absolutely stunning. And I think there's been some space left intentionally in that vase, hasn't there? It might be filled with some other important places that will come. This is only the beginning of the next part of your journey. Joanna and Matthew have joined themselves to each other today by solemn vows and by the giving and receiving of their wedding rings. In the presence of all of you, their witnesses. So it is now my very great pleasure on behalf of the Commonwealth of Australia to declare you two are officially husband and wife. Matt, you may kiss your bride.
As always.
So your wife?
My wife.
Oh, you can start leaning into that. It's going to feel good. Are you lefty? Okay, so you're going to go... That's throwing me off. You're going to sign here. And then I'll also get you just to sign this one. Yep. Oh, we've also got Matt. Can I... You know my feelings about glassware. Can you just... I'm having PTSD. Okay, so...
Just one.
Yeah. Are they both...
They're the same.
Yeah, okay, cool. So if you just want to sign here... Get all yours done first, and then I'll get Matt to do all of his, so we don't have a pen relay going on. Okay, so Matt, if you can get yourself comfy, you're going to sign here. Okay, now do my fancy pants one. I'll get you to sign over here. Do you want to put your engagement ring over? Do you have with your... Is that your engagement ring? Yes. And then... I thought, that is a good feeling. Okay, Beth, did you want any more of these guys doing any more signy bits? So you're okay? Okay. All right, so I'll get you guys to stand up. Sorry, I really got comfortable there, and I'll get the witnesses to just watch that train. Okay, and I'll get our witnesses to take a seat. Joe, for when you go back to the centre, you need to bouquet. You don't need it right now, just for when you go back. Okay, now, are you Natalie? Yes. Can I get you to sign underneath there, please?
It's actually him, you know.
I didn't want to make any assumptions. Okay, and I'll also get you to sign, look at him here, yep, down here, bits of floral stuff. Gorgeous, and they've got here, yes please, maid of honour. Beautiful. All right. So then, by the process of elimination, you are Dominic, and you can sign underneath your name over here. And then you're just here. And that's you, best man. But I'm going to put my signature on absolutely everything. Okay. To blow away. 100% now. More, hang on, there it is. That's 100%.
Done.
That's a nice feeling. Okay, so I'm just going to take this one out and hand it over to somebody responsible. Yes. Is that also Joanna?
It is, yeah. Our mum, sorry.
She belongs to both of you.
She's
okay?
both of us, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So she's not running around chasing grandchildren or anything. is she?
No.
Okay, good. Okay. All right,
Probably
so
take that to mine on my day, so.
I'm giving it to your mum.
Don't they look beautiful? Do they look a bit different now since we signed all that paperwork? I feel like they do. Something a bit more official about this whole arrangement. So we have signed the paperwork. It's all 100% official. And so there's only one thing left to do, which is to present our newlyweds. Without any further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce the new Mr. and Mrs. James. Congratulations.
Follow them. Now, guys, all you need to do is go and breathe into the great thing for you. I think they're going to be half the sort of that was mine, guys. I hope they just go with it. Yep, they're doing that. Oh, can you do it, guys? Can you grab her and go up? Who was the best?
Good evening, everyone. Wow, this thing's loud. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Matthew and Joanna's wedding reception. My name is Matt Gallagher, and it's my honour and pleasure this evening to be your MC. So Maddie and I have been close mates since year 4 of primary school, so in that time we've shared primary and high school graduations, countless heavy metal mosh pits, and a couple of Sydney Roosters grand final wins. He's a classy bloke, that guy. Joe and I also went to high school together, and Joe is one of the most entertaining people I've ever met to play board games with. The red hair isn't just for fashion. If you've ever played games with Joe, you'll see how truly fiery that girl can get. So on behalf of Maddie and Joe, thank you all for coming to this very special day. I hope that everybody enjoyed the beautiful ceremony. We do have a few housekeeping rules just to go over quickly. Bathrooms are located to the back of the room and to the right of the bar. And your primary exit, the main doors have been closed, so we have a door to the back of the room to the left just behind the DJ's booth. So ladies and gentlemen, now that I have your attention, we're about to welcome our guests of honour. So I have one more question that I need to ask everyone. Are we ready? Come on, it's the wedding of the century, folks. Give me some love. Are we ready? Yeah. That's more like it. DJ, we good? All right, everybody, please put your hands together as we welcome the mother and father of the groom, Margaret and Gregory James, and mother and father of the bride, Robin and Peter Forbuck. Next up, please welcome the groomsmen, Tom Dobby, Andrew Orish and Michael Fitzgerald, bridesmaids Kate Gallagher, Lauren Bostock and Lauren Melrose, maid of honour Natalie Burton and best man Dominic Sremchevich. Now the moment we've all been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honour to introduce the new Mr. and Mrs. James.
First of all, I just want to thank Matt for helping out tonight. It's fantastic that he's been a part of the ceremony. There's his lovely wife Kate here on the end as well. And as he said, I heard some of what he said in the beginning. They've been fantastic friends with Matt and Joe's for a long time. So thanks, Matt. I've been called a lot of names over the years, and some quite deservedly so. Most I can't repeat here tonight, but to be called the father of the groom is a tag that I can really live with. It's a very special and a very proud moment. And I think you can hear that I'm getting a bit emotional already. So. Having only 2 children, making a speech when one is getting married will not happen very often. I stand in front of audiences for work, but when it's family, it's very, very different. So I am getting very emotional standing up here thinking about it, so please bear with me. It's been a tough year, and until a few months ago, it was a guess if the wedding would actually go ahead. We didn't know what was happening, the number of guests that could be invited, how many people are allowed to be in the venue, who can cross borders easily, how many people can dance, who shouldn't dance. That's me. It has really been very stressful, and Matt and Joe with all the changes. So to have everybody here tonight is fantastic. We have invited family members we had invited family members who were getting over illnesses. Some that they were worried about being in a crowd and they couldn't attend, unfortunately. We've had an interstate family of Joes that weren't able to make it, and that's very disappointing. But I'm sure that they'll all be thinking about the two of you tonight. But here we are today. We appreciate everybody being here, and it makes Matt and Joe's day all that more memorable. So thanks everybody for coming. Thank you to the bridal party. The ladies look stunning, not funny. They look stunning. The boys, well, they scrub up. Well, they don't scrub up too bad either. Margaret and I don't get to see all the close friends very often anymore. We used to see us all the time, but we don't see her, so it's fantastic to catch up with everybody again today and over the last day as well. Thank you to everybody who has helped getting today and all the lead up to today organised in some way, big or small. That's family, friends, the bridal party, the Bendooley staff working here tonight, the photographers, the florists, everybody involved, thank you all. Today has been the topic of conversation more often than not for the past 16 months. Our two families have had lunches and dinners to discuss the wedding. It all started here. We visited about 16 months ago, I think it was. And the decision was made to have it here at the stables very quickly by Joe and Matt. I think mainly Joe. We've been back for lunches, we've been back for wine tasting and selections, and someone had to do that. And it's now all come together today. It's been beautiful, and we hope everyone's enjoying themselves. Matthew has always been determined, and when Matt sets his mind on a task, he will succeed and finish. Some tasks take a little longer, or actually most tasks take a little bit longer for Matt, if you know him. But what he accomplishes to set out, he will do. And that's like asking for Joe's hand in marriage. And we heard today in the ceremony that the little mishaps down at Threadbow took a little bit longer, but he eventually did it. He got it over the line. So. And Joe was quite crook down there when that happened as well. You saw Matt and Joe mixing the sands and soils together at the ceremony. All were collected from the significant locations in their lives. The last one was mentioned was Threadbow. On their trip to Threadbow this year, they forgot to get the sand again. So that was either going to be a run down to Threadbow, which would have been a long trip. But I happened to be riding through there with some friends, and Matt asked me to pick up some soil. So he showed me some photographs, sent me the details of the map locations, and off I went to Threadbow. And I got a few strange laughs, and I got a few strange looks by my friends when I'm stealing soil out of the national park. I'm just glad he didn't ask me to get it from New Zealand, from their first trip together, their first overseas trip together. Maybe next time. Margaret and I are very proud of the man that Matt has become. He's made us proud many times over the past 27 years on many different levels. Who he has become has been influenced by many family and friends here tonight, and particularly with Rob, Joe and Pete playing a huge part. And we thank you for helping him, guiding him over the last 10 years. We thank you very much. So they say that the old saying is that we're not losing a son, that we're gaining a daughter-in-law, is very old. It's a very, very old saying, and it is very true. We're extremely grateful to have such a wonderful young lady as Joanna in the family. It's officially in the family tonight. So, Margaret and I, we gained a daughter-in-law some time ago with Joe. It's been a long time. Today it's making it official, and I've been referring to Joe as my daughter-in-law to be for long before they actually got engaged. I was actually starting to think I'd put a curse on it because I thought this engagement was never coming. Margaret she's on my back about it all the time. When's it going to happen? With Joe, we've not just gained a daughter-in-law, we've also gained a wider family with Pete, Robin, Nat, John and little Ellie, hello, arriving a few years ago. For a long time now, our families have spent a bit of time together. We've met Robin's long-time friends, or the friends, as the aunties that Joe calls you, at one of Robin's birthday dinners. There's been several charity days, a few bike rides with Peter and Uncle Bruce, and John has been our go-to Sparky. So I could say that we could not be happier with who we have as our new extended family. So thank you to the Forbys. Thank you. Life does change with marriage. Some of those changes and challenges Matt and Joe have already been through, building on a good foundation and experience with buying your first home together. Your engagement and getting married here today are some of the big ones that you've already managed to get through. There will be new hurdles, considerations and ups and downs, happiness and the rewards of marriage, but it's not always easy, and there are bad times and hard times to deal with. Just ask my wife what she's had to put up with in the last 32 years. But in all seriousness, from the bottom of our hearts, we wish you all the very best in your future married life together. So if you can all raise your glasses, and I forgot to bring one, I'd like to toast to Matthew and Joanna. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Very true words there. Life does change with marriage, but pub night with the boys on a Thursday night still rolls on, right, Joe? Thanks. All right, next up for speeches, we have the father of the bride. Can everyone please welcome Mr. Peter Forbuck.
Thanks, Matt. I've written a little speech here. It's it's held together with paper clips and a bulldog clip. So there's a fair bit to it. Thanks, El. Okay, good evening. Obviously, my name's Peter. I'm Joanna's father. Firstly, my wife Robin and I, along with Greg and Margaret, would like to welcome you here all to celebrate the marriage of my daughter Joanna to Matthew. I think the location that Joe and Matt have chosen is absolutely amazing, and it will certainly leave us with some wonderful memories of the night. I would also like to thank those of you who have travelled a long way to be here tonight. Unfortunately, due to the Rona and the rubbish year that has brought us, some family members from the People's Republic of Queensland have been unable to join us. I know that both Joe and Matt are disappointed by that, and I can tell you that my brother, his family and my father are just as disappointed, and they send their love. In actual fact, Dad rang me today to make sure that I did pass on his best wishes for you today. Over the past 15 months, Joe and Matt have spent many long hours planning this wedding and making sure that everything for their special day was perfect. And I think you'll agree they've done a magnificent job. The venue is stunning, and I'm sure it will be a night to remember. When I was putting together this speech, Robin said to me, it's very important, one of the most important ingredients to this is brevity. So I've made sure I've included that, and I'll discuss that on page 7 of this speech. And you think I'm joking. Okay, my daughter Joanna. She looks absolutely amazing tonight, absolutely radiant. She's a picture of calm beauty, her beautiful white dress, hair immaculately done, perfect makeup. When she was a little girl, that was not always the case. She was our wild child. For the first 12 months, she was the perfect baby. She slept for hours on end, didn't cry, didn't wake during the night, would not even take a dummy, spat the thing out as soon as we tried it. She was a very agreeable baby. That all changed. At the stroke of midnight, beginning of year 2, the wild child appeared. Sleeping at night, well, that was for babies. She was a big girl now. Nighttime was for playtime. Thankfully, her sister had decided at this point that sleeping was okay, and it allowed Robin and I to spend plenty of quality time with Joanna. Jo was in a cot that rocked from side to side, thanks to Auntie Jan and Uncle Bruce. It was a great cot until Joanna worked out that it actually rocked from side to side. and that she could control it. Many a time we would be woken by a banging against the wall and the words, "I'm awake." As a toddler, she was a handful. She loved to run around the backyard in her bond suit and play with her sister and our blue cattle dog, Sally. In actual fact, when Sally was asleep, Jo would often stand on her stomach and use her as a ladder to try and look into the neighbour's yard. Sally just laid there and put up with Jo jumping up and down. Nearly had a heart attack one day when we looked out the backyard and found our bond-suited daughter had managed to climb the ladder of the backyard slippery dip and was now standing on it, rocking it from side to side. For those of you who knew her when she was young, you might remember her apparent mastery of the German language and the weird accent she developed. Her first words sounded distinctly Bavarian, and we were convinced we had a genius child. Funnily enough, it turned out just to be gibberish, but it was a source of much amusement at the time. 2-2, check 2. We used to call her our little Fraulein. You could go. In the later years, when she did start speaking the Queen's English, I remember asking her what she wanted to be when she grew up. A nurse, a doctor, a lady policeman, you know, the normal stuff. Jo thought about it and said, "I want to be a horse." As talented as I am, I was unable to make that little dream come true. Her wild child days didn't end there. She was always running somewhere, usually out of sight, covered in dirt, full of energy, and getting roped into her older sister's concert as the backup singer, the uncredited extra, or the dodgy musician in the background. Thanks, Nat. But Jo was growing into a strong, independent young woman. She developed a real sense of her own person, an individual and not one to conform with the crowd mentality. She developed strong views on many issues and was happy to argue the point, make her feelings known when she was passionate about something. It's a very admirable quality and one that has served her well. We've been blessed with 2 lovely daughters that have brought us nothing but joy. Joanna was my baby, and Jo and I have developed a special bond. We share a love of superhero blockbusters, drinking vodka, musicals and Monty Python. I'm constantly impressed by her crazy humour, her common sense, her perseverance and her no-nonsense attitude of just doing it. Although a few years ago the common sense side of things became a little murky. Joanna went on a bus tour of Europe with some friends. Before leaving, we said, "Remember, you're on the other side of the planet, don't do anything stupid, we can't help you, and your insurance won't cover you." You can imagine our surprise when we woke at 5 a.m. one morning with a picture message from our very sensible daughter. There, in brilliant colour, was a picture of our common sense, nothing stupid daughter plummeting through the stratosphere with a parachuting man attached to her back and a hand held up at the camera with the words, "Sorry, Mum," written on it. I think we have the lovely Lauren sitting there to thank for convincing my daughter to do that. Jo and Matt met at high school. They went to the year 10-12 graduation together and they've been solid ever since. Matt is a wonderful young man and it's a pleasure to welcome him officially into our family. I say officially because Matt has been part of our family for the past decade. Birthdays, Easter, Christmas, virtually every holiday, Matt has been there. And it was on one of these holidays, and I think we've spoken about this already 20 times, but I'll go through it. It was on one of those holidays that Matt decided to make his move into the family official. Probably aware that our family loves to holiday in the snow each year, and Matt and Jo, Natalie, John and Eleanor join us for that trip. I'm an avid skier and quite enjoy showing the young fellas how it's done. I love nothing more than hitting the slopes with my daughters and the boys and showing them that an old bloke can still do the business. My only hope is they all give up the upright tobogganing and join me in the real winter sport of skiing. As you know, last year, Joe and Matt became engaged. It happened down at Thredbo. Joe and Matt had gone down a few days earlier than the rest of us. We arrived on the Sunday, and unfortunately, during those few days prior to our arrival, Joe was T-boned by another snowboarder and received a concussion and was housebound for the week. The trip had not started well for Joe. Then on the Thursday night, after a meal at a restaurant, I decided to walk back to the house whilst the others drove back with Ellie in a car. Matt piped up and said, "I'll walk with you." I thought, that's interesting. So we started our walk back in the freezing cold, up the hill to our chalet in the snow. And as we were walking and sucking in the big ones, Matt turns to me and says, "Pete, I'd like to ask you something." And I said, "What's that?" And he said, I'd like to ask you for permission to marry Joanna." And I said, "Of course, I'd be happy to welcome you in the family." I was sworn to secrecy, and the next day, Matt took a knee and proposed to Joe outside our place in the snow. Robin and Natalie saw it through the window and went berserk. Matt, even though he's a snowboarder, is a sensible, level-headed young man. His work ethic is second to none, and he is a credit to you, Margaret and Greg. His support for Joanna, especially this year, has been incredible. I'm very thankful that Joe has found a lifetime partner that Rob and I can be comfortable in knowing that he will always be there for our daughter. Now here's the bit where I get to give the fatherly advice. Robin and I have been married for 34 years. We've known each other for 43 years. She's been my rock, my sounding board and my best friend. We've been a team since day one and continue to be so today. I've learnt many things. So here's some advice. Life and marriage, especially if you want it to work, is a compromise. Even though you're individuals, your vows today make you, as a couple, more important than either of you separately. Don't sweat the small stuff. Remember, there is nothing too small that it can't be blown completely out of proportion. And whenever you're wrong, Matt, admit it. Whenever you're right, shut up and keep it to yourself. And something I did learn, the most effective way to remember your wedding anniversary is to forget the first one. Sorry, darling. Be true to one another, share your joys and your burdens, laugh much, love much and laugh more. Be each other's best friend. Always speak well of each other, even in private. And when things don't go well, forgive as often as it is required. Married life is an adventure and you start that today. One day, if you're fortunate, as I have been, you will stand in awe of a new addition entering your family. There will be another beginning filled with apprehension and anticipation. Bring to that relationship the same level of love and commitment you do to your marriage, and you will find joy beyond compare. So today, your friends and family surround you as you begin something new and marvellous. Remember your promises, keep them with all your heart, and you will have that sense of joy and wonder that exceeds all you have known before. And with all my heart, I offer you my congratulations and best wishes as you begin the latest adventure life has to offer. And let me finish with the words that my father-in-law, George, your grandfather, gave your mother and I at our wedding last century. It only takes a word or a touch or a look, and love is always there. I hope that they always have that. If you would raise your glasses, again, I'd like to propose a toast to the bride and groom, Matthew and Joanna. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Ladies and gentlemen, dinner will be served shortly, so for the moment, relax, mingle. We're allowed to stand up and mingle now, that's kind of nice. So please see your table share menus that are located on your tables for the dinner menu. Thank you.
Hi everyone, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Natalie and I'm Joe's older sister. 2020, what an unbelievable year it's been for everyone. The amount of stress and worry everyone's been through this year has just been crazy. Now on top of all of that, imagine planning your dream wedding in the middle of this global pandemic. This is exactly what these two lovebirds have done. I have to say, it is the most amazing feeling to be standing here celebrating Joe and Matt on their special day. Everything looks absolutely spectacular and what an absolutely magical atmosphere they have created. Joe and Matt, you have been an absolute pillar of strength during all of this planning. The support and love you have for one another has just shone through these last 12 months. It really is such a beautiful example of how much this marriage means to you both. You guys have just started the most exciting part of your lives as husband and wife. I cannot wait to watch you grow, create memories and become a beautiful family of your own. You two are like two peas in a pod, so meant for one another. Anyone who knows you guys can see it. The life you have created together with your beautiful home, crazy fur baby Sophie, love of games and movie night in, just shows how much you are made for one another. For as long as I can remember, Joe and I have been polar opposites, which has made for a strong relationship over the years. As kids, we did everything together. She was my shadow and I was the overly concerned dibba-dobba big sister. Her wild personality had me concerned from early on. Her regular attempts to run away from Mum and I, whether it be sprinting down the escalators at the shops or hiding in the clothes section of Target when you had me worried and continuously screaming for Mum to save you. As we got older, we went through our Spice Girl stage, which included many concerts, which of most of our family and friends here tonight were the forced audience for. With our Spice Girl microphones and choreographed dance routines, we entertained at every event we went to. As we grew up, we became even closer, sharing our thoughts, ideas and secrets with one another. We soon realised our opposite personalities were just what we needed in a best friend and made us closer than ever. Matt, I still laugh at your first time coming over for dinner at our place and Mum deciding to serve up Deb, the packet mashed potato, with dinner. All of us were completely disgusted by this, as it tasted like cardboard and set like concrete. We were all amazed you actually came back after that disaster of a dinner. Thankfully, that was a one-off and you decided to stick around. Your calm, carefree attitude is just what we need in our family, and we are so grateful to have you in our lives. Your support and your love for Joe is always your number one priority, and as a big sister, I'm so thankful for that. Joe, you look absolutely stunning tonight. I'm so grateful that I've been able to stand by your side on the most important day of your life, just as you did for me. You're such a kind, caring, sensitive, hardworking and honest person. Your love and support for your family and friends is endless, and you are always ready to drop what you are doing and be there for whoever needs it without question. I know this year's been especially difficult for you, but your strength and resilience has shone through once again. You truly are amazing, and I continue to admire the woman my little sister has become. I know you guys have a lifetime of wonderful years ahead of you. I wish you both happiness always and endless love. I love you both to bits. Congratulations. If everyone could raise your glass to a toast to Mr. and Mrs. James.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dominic, or Dom, the best man. And for those of you who do know me, please keep the heckling down to a minimum. First off, I would just like to say how wonderful it is that God has let 4 of his most beautiful angels be here tonight to grace us with their presence. Natalie, Lauren, Kate and Lauren, you've done an amazing job in helping Joe prepare for this big day. And I'm not surprised to see how good you look today. I was just saying to Matt, and I really mean it, I've never seen you ladies looking sexier. And how about giving it up for the boys? They all look great, don't they? Unlike the girls, it did take a bit of prep work, but we got there in the end, you know. Spray tans, mani-paddies, hair and makeup, brack, crack and sack, you know, all the works. I was just saying to Joe that I've never seen us lads looking sexier. We all have our strengths, of course. Matthew has chosen his funniest friend, his wisest friend, his most charming friend, and his most humble friend to join him up here today. But when Joe picked 4 bridesmaids, he had to add in Andrew, Tom, and Michael as well. For the bride and groom's parents, Robin and Pete, Greg and Margaret, you must be extremely proud of your grown-up kids today. You've done a fantastic job raising them. They have matured to be wonderful examples of your efforts. And I know that today means as much to you as it does to them. And of course, I have to mention that I've never seen you looking sexier. The bride and groom, Joanna, nothing compares to your elegance and beauty on this day. I only dream to meet a woman as half as good as you. Matthew, you're punching. For some history, Matthew and I first met in primary school and became good mates during high school. Truth be told, I don't quite remember a specific moment in which we met or became friends, but when I try to think back on it, I'm overwhelmed because it honestly feels like we've known each other for an entire lifetime. You know, it feels like we are soulmates. Sometimes I feel if you hadn't met Joe, it would have been me sitting there with you.
She tipped you at the post.
But I digress. Now we have to make sure Matthew doesn't drink too much tonight because they're off to Thailand for their honeymoon right after. Well, so I thought. I swear that Joe told me after the reception she was going to Bangkok. Speaking of trips, ever since they started dating, Matt and Joe have always gone away to the snow. Some of their favourite moments together have happened on these trips, and of course, their most recent one is probably the most memorable. Well, for some of them, memory is a funny thing. You may have heard the story today or earlier that on the day Matt had planned to propose to Jo in all her elegance and grace. Unfortunately, she suffered a pretty serious head injury. Now, some people would have let that ruin the day and let that get them down, but not our boy Matt. Matt's an optimist. Wait, sorry, no, Matt's an opportunist. Engagement is a 10-letter word, and so is concussion. Seriously, Matt, Jo was more confused than a fart in a fan factory. But seeing how happy you two are for as long as you have been, I know that she would have said yes, head injury or not. So when I was writing this speech, I decided to ask some of the other people that know Matt to give me some words to describe him. Arrogant, selfish, pain in the arse. You can't really argue with someone's mother, can you? It's the truth. Seriously though, Matthew is a man who is strong of character, full of integrity, and someone who treats the confidence placed in him by his friends and family with the greatest respect. I love him dearly and trust him with all my heart. Out of all our mates, he would be considered the most sensible one in the group, most of the time. We've always tried to bring out the hooligan in Matt, and there are a few times where we've been successful. Matthew was one of the first boys to get his car licence, and as such, he had to drive the rest of us around after high school. I remember one particular time, after much verbal abuse, we managed to convince him to drive a little creatively. Finally, this young Catholic schoolboy decided to let loose and swerve back and forth on double lines. Unfortunately for him, an undercover policeman just happened to be driving behind at the time. So the siren comes on, the lights flash, Matthew pulls over, the man walks up, and he rolls his window down. The cop gives him this lecture about how reckless his driving was, while the boys are in the passenger's seat hiding our laughter and just thinking, ooh, how is this new renegade macho man going to impress his friends next? What manner of bravado will he reply with? And we all wait on bated breath, but all he could muster was a squeaky, oh, sorry, Mr. Officer, I won't have it again, no! And the cop, realising this was not a lawless cowboy, but rather a frightened little chicken, generously let him off. And thus ended Matthew's rebellious stage. So one of the things Matthew and the rest of us in the groom's party really enjoy are card games, like poker. It's funny because to me, this wedding and this marriage seems a bit like the poker cards. We have the king and the queen, who in this case are two of a kind. We have the 4 10s over there, looking sexy as ever. We have a 6, maybe. 2 jokers. And then we have me, acing this speech. And at some point in the future, we'll all be staring down the barrel of a full house. But most importantly, we have the 4 things that Joanna will need going into her life with Matthew. A heart to love him, a diamond to marry him, the club to smash his head in, and the spade to bury him. These two both got a good deal, and they're all going all in on this one, and I know they're both coming out winners. I'm 100% certain that Jo will make you a good husband. It truly has been an honour to be up here tonight celebrating your love. I wish you all the best in the future, and I hope that I'll be there with you throughout life to celebrate many more milestones with you guys. If you could all be upstanding as we raise a glass to the bride and groom, Joanna and Matthew.
Jo and Matt.
Jo and Matt. Ow!
Thank you, Dalton. That was as brilliant as expected, with as many phallic jokes as expected. Very true. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time that we introduce the man of the hour, the man with the power, the alpha dog himself. Ladies and gentlemen, the groom, Mr. Matthew James.
something I prepared earlier last night. Not a good time to start wearing contacts 2 days before a wedding either, so this could go anywhere. Yeah, that's page 1. All right. First of all, wow. Absolute smoke show. I'll come back to you. Well, we got here. What a wild ride that was, and for a long time we had no idea what was going on, to say the least, so to say we're stoked is an understatement. We would like to say a big thank you to all the suppliers for helping the day come together, and especially Beth, you've been wonderful. Big thank you to Bendooley. Even through these crazy times, you've gone out of your way to make our big day feel so special. On behalf of my gorgeous wife and I, we would like to say thank you all so much for coming here today. It hasn't been easy in these crazy times, so I feel like having you here tonight makes it feel all the more special. We know there were some people here that were not able to make it for various reasons, so we do thank them for their well wishes. Jim Rohn famously said that we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. If those people are in this room, then we should consider ourselves blessed. Whether we have known you for a short time or a lifetime, I believe you've all helped shape the people we have become, and for that we are very grateful. Joe and I would like to say a huge thank you to the folks, Greg and Margaret, and Robin and Peter, and our families, Erin, Natalie, John, and our beautiful niece Eleanor. We could not have done this without you. Can I get a round of applause for my main man and the MC for this evening, Mr. Matthew Gallagher? I have been coming to you for advice about everything from girls and dating to writing this very speech, and I won't be stopping anytime soon. Joe and I would like to thank you for playing such a big part in our day. You mean the world to both of us. There was never a doubt in my mind, but hot damn do the bridesmaids look beautiful tonight. Natalie, Lauren, and Kate, Joe and I would like to say a big thank you for helping Joe through what was definitely one of the more stressful events to organise. You're all such wonderful women, and Joe and I are so happy that you're in our lives, and even more thrilled that you could stand with us as we tied the knot. To my groomsmen, Dom, Michael, Andrew and Tom, in all seriousness, I set a pretty low bar, as for the past 9 years, we have not been able to organise a game of poker or beers more than 1 week out. But you have absolutely smashed it out of the park. You boys have stepped up when it truly mattered most, and I couldn't have asked any more of you. I've been mates with most of you boys for over 15 years. We've finished school together, got cars, girlfriends, jobs, houses, travelled together. Here's to another 15 years and more. Even though we cannot get through more than 3 sentences without a conversation, without cracking a joke, and you're known as the naughty boys, we are always looking out for each other. I know you have my back, and you know I have yours. It's at this point I would like to give a shout out to the best wingman I have ever had in my life, Robin. Before I even knew I wanted to date Jo, she was already chipping away at her. That Matt James boy, such a nice boy. You should date him. So cheers, Robin, you're the best. There you go. Much to Jo's dismay, I think I've slowly been picking up some of Peter's vernacular and mannerisms over the years. My stories have become more detailed and sidetracked, and my dad jokes are getting more frequent and of lesser quality. Robin and Peter, you have made me feel welcome in your home since day one. I see the tight-knit family you've raised with Nat and Jo, now John and Ellie, and today I officially become part of that, even though it is only a formality. You have raised such a wonderful woman in Jo with such strong virtues and values, and for that I say thank you. We appreciate everything you do for us, always putting us first and never failing to help us. Jo has always said to me that if we could be half the parents that you both are, then we'll be happy with how we turned out. Nat and John, what can I say? You guys are awesome. You've been the slightly older, slightly cooler kids clearing the cobwebs out as we follow you closely in the footsteps of life. Never have I seen a closer bond between sisters than Nat and Jo. I've felt like your little brother for years now, but it's official. You're stuck with me. You're raising such a wonderful little lady in Eleanor, and Jo and I are thrilled and proud to be her godparents. To Mum, Dad and Erin, I could not ask for a better family. I don't say it enough, but I love you all and thank you for the life you have given me. Ez, you have been and continue to be a wonderful sister and an even better person. You have always had the right advice and you have always had my back through thick and thin. Mum, Dad, any successes in life I have, I credit to you. You have instilled in me through both practice and preaching what it takes to be a good person and a good man. I hope to one day show my family the same love and support that you have shown me. I am constantly told, you are just like Greg, and God, you remind me of Greg. To that, I've always scoffed and made some smart-ass comment. But these days, I will wear that badge with honour. Dad, you are everything anyone could hope for in a father. Mum, you rock. I see you always putting everyone before yourself. Your kindness, generosity and love are infinite. You have always been my biggest supporter and I will always be your little Maddie. Jo would like to mention to you both and Erin how thankful she was for welcoming her into the family. Over the past years, she's felt such love and support from you both and feels very privileged to call you family. And to my beautiful, stunning, gorgeous wife, Joanna, we will have been together for 10 years and a little over a month. That's a long time. We started checking out each other at school, at parties, then I'd come down to the cafe you worked at in my lunch break to order an omelette I didn't want, just to see you in that very flattering snot green coloured polo they made you wear. On our friend's trip to Bendooley, you received what I can only describe as the most severe case of sunburn I have ever seen, all because you wanted to lay in the shallow water and chat for 3 hours with yours truly. I am to this day very thankful you sacrificed the top 3 layers of your skin for me. We shall not go into further details about the peeling. After buttering up your dad with a box set of Star Wars movies, I was invited over for a family meal, at which I asked you out, and for some reason you said yes. From there, we finished up year 12 and got on with life. The years from there seem to have flown by. I've done some travel, had some holidays, celebrated plenty of milestones, and most notably bought a house and moved in together. No doubt you've all heard the story that Jo tried her best to ruin my proposal plans by giving herself a concussion at the snow, but we got there in the end, and here we are. I love living with you, and I can't forget to mention our fur baby Sophie. Whether we are playing cards, taking a nap, watching the sunset on our veranda, or furiously trying to work out the conundrum on 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, I love it all, and that's because of one reason: you. You bring out the best in me, Jo. You make me a better man. Joanna, I can't wait to spend the rest of our lives together. And I don't have to. We're shacked up now. It's officially begun. I've said it before and I won't stop saying it. You have the biggest heart of all the people I know, and that is why I'm so happy to give you mine. And that's me done. I'd like to make a toast to the beautiful bride and our lives together. Bride.
Thank you. Well done, Maddie.
Well, I can't be the only one with a tear in my eye. Jo told me all of a week ago that she was concerned about how Maddie would go with a soppy speech, citing that the closest he'd got to something sappy before was, "You scrub up alright toots." And with that, we're going to invite the lovely bride and groom up to cut their wedding cake.
knock yourself out. I'll just be like, you go out. That's all right.
I'll be on this side hurting them back there.
It's my cattle party.
Can't explain all the feels that you're making me feel. My heart's in overdrive, you're behind the steering wheel. Touching you, touching me, touching you, got you touching me. I believe in a thing called love. Just listen to the rhythm of my heart. There's a chance we can make it now. We'll be rocking till the sun goes down. I believe in a thing called love. I wanna kiss you every minute, every hour, every day. You got me head spinning, everything's okay. Touching you, touching me, touching you, got you touching me. I believe in a thing called love. Just listen to the rhythm of my heart. There's a chance we can make it now. We'll be rocking till the sun goes down. I believe in a thing called love. I believe in a thing called love. There's a chance we can make it now. I believe in a thing called love. There's a chance we can make it now. I believe in a thing called love.
Congratulations, Maddie and Joe. Now, Mr. James, I'm going to ask you the very difficult task of giving up that beautiful bride of yours for just a moment so that Joe can have a father-daughter dance with her father, Peter.
Da
Thank you, Peter and Joe. We'd now like to invite the bridal party and their partners onto the dance floor.